Hey kids, always recycle to the extreme. Here's your look at the new Super7 The Simpsons Ultimates Poochie. Inspired by the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode of The Simpsons, this made-to-order 7-inch scale, fully articulated ultimate figure of Poochie comes with interchangeable heads and hands, and all the totally outrageous accessories you'd expect. Each Ultimates figure comes packaged in a deluxe slipcase window box. Collect the whole first wave of The Simpsons Ultimate figures. Hi, Poochie. You look like you have something to say. Do you? Okay, maybe Poochie has nothing to say, but the person behind the camera has a whole lot to say as we have a look at this new figure from the folks over at Super7. Of course, we are going to be bringing in a couple of figures for comparisons in a moment. Let's not, though, get ahead of ourselves, grabbing the tape measure first. Poochie, right to the very top of his head, or hat in this case, let's not knock the figure in the process, stands at about 5 inches exactly, or the figure in this case is about, or just a little over, 12 centimeters tall. Not only do I find it strange that Poochie, of all the Simpsons characters, make the first wave. Let that all sit in for a second. He made the first wave from Super7's new line of Simpsons Ultimate figures. What fascination, what love do they have for the Poochie character that he makes the very first wave of only 5 figures? Not only that, but the other figures that come along with him are Robot Itchy, Robot Scratchy, and yes, Itchy's legs have gotten even worse. Scratchy's legs are fine. Itchy's legs have gotten wobbly, not only in the knees and ankle area. And while these are technically from Itchy and Scratchy, Robot Itchy and Robot Scratchy are from Itchy and Scratchy land, not an episode. And Poochie being a character to introduce not only as a one-shot only, he may have also made one other appearance, but to make only that one introduction in an episode, and yet still let that again settle all in. The fact that he makes the first wave, I can't even say that. The fact that he makes the first wave from what we get from Super7, and let's say they cancel this line, wave 3, wave 4. Was it worth getting Poochie in a first wave? I don't think so. Perplexed, perhaps, by Poochie's appearance in this wave. Sorry to spit on everybody. Let's have a look at the accessories to come included with the figure. First of all, the figure comes included with some series of hands, actually not counting the closed fists that are in his hand sockets right now. Don't make any sense considering all the other accessories the figure comes included with. The figure still manages to pull off 3 other interchangeable pairs of hands. The first hands we'll have a look at is a pair of gripping hands. Of course, all these hands would be good, mostly other than the piece hands. These hands would be good to hold all the accessories that we're about to have a look at. So, gripping hands. The plastic, again, on these sort of is what I could describe as a very dense gummy. It's not super soft. It's not something that would be able to easily bend, but you can kind of feel there's almost a hard gumminess to the type of plastic that Super7 are using for their figures. You have these. Then you also have more relaxed hands. Now, again, if you were to compare these to the other hands we just finished having a look at, hopefully you can see that one is a little bit more shaped like a C. The other one is actually having the fingers more straight. These ones are actually good for holding things like the surfboard. These ones are actually better for holding things like the guitar. I'm going to swap those out in a second. The figure also comes included with a couple of peace signs. Again, like the plastic, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the plastic, but the plastic is okay. It just, again, feels kind of gummy-ish. If you have any of these figures, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Then the figure comes included with this surfboard. Now, the surfboard doesn't give you the means right now, at least Super7 doesn't give you the means to put a standee or anything underneath this, so you can't actually have Poochie standing on the surfboard for obvious reasons. The big fin is there on the back of the surfboard. Though you can hold it, got some nice decorative work there on the top, nothing here on the back, but this does fit into his hands. Now, obviously, for me to do any of him holding the things, obviously I'm going to have to swap the hands out. I did notice when removing the hands, they were hard to do initially. This one hand, this side here wasn't so bad. Let's just grab a suitable hand for this, pop the hand in place, making sure, Poochie or otherwise, that the thumbsies go in. Popping this hand in place. Just lining up the peg. I don't know why. Why are we struggling? Why is this difficult? There we go. This hand was on the other side a little harder to do. I, in fact, had to heat this with hot water. And finally, it was able to free itself. And then we can go ahead and take the hand, pop that into place. And then we've got Poochie with at least gripping hands. To then take the surfboard then fits in between his fingers and his palm. And it actually holds it pretty good if that's the way you want to display the figure. Or kind of more so, I think, more upright like that. While he's doing that, the figure also comes included with a skateboard. The skateboard's nice. It's orange. It's bright. It's got a peg right here that can actually attach onto Poochie's foot. And he does have spinning wheels, front and on the back. This does roll fairly easy, in fact. I don't know if you would want to have it rolling too quickly or too fast. You obviously wouldn't want the figure just to roll off your shelf. So it's best advised, if you are planning to put Poochie on top of his skateboard, don't put it on a shelf that's... Who has shelves that are like this? But if you want to make sure you obviously have it on a very flat surfaced shelf. This does, again, fit into his hands. And then the last thing the figure comes included with is his guitar. I like the coloring of the guitar. Like an ice blue. There's some nice panel lining that they've done from the full neck of the guitar. And then the adjustments on the end of there done in silver. Overall, nice looking guitar. And again, all of these do fit into his hands. Removing the surfboard for right now. We can take the skateboard, and again, that fits into his hand. Or also, if you did want to have him holding the guitar, you can then just clip the guitar on the end here. And then sort of just have it straddled across his hand. Sort of like, well, somewhat like that. Actually, in a case like this, I probably would end up using the other hand, literally on the other hand, for him to hold the guitar, because I think it would hold it just a little bit better than, well, than this hand right here. This hand, as you can see, holds it okay, but you kind of need a supporting thing on the other side of it for him to properly hold it, which I would probably end up switching out the hands to do that job. Then the figure finally does have some swapped out heads. Before we actually talk about the heads that we swap out then too, I want to show you guys the stock head sculpt when you get it out of the packaging. I have this ugly scratch that's just on the side of his nose. It wasn't caused by me, promsies. I didn't actually scratch this myself, just to point this out in the review. Who would do that? But this actually came out of the packaging like that, little scratch right on the side. So that's kind of a bit of a bummer. The figure, though, does have two swapped out head sculpts. He has this one, which is actually my favorite of the three. It's pretty much the same head, but he's got a big giant smile across his face. So I'm going to probably swap it out for this head sculpt anyways. From like the nose up, it looks to be the exact same head sculpt. Then there's this one, which does have his more visible teeth. It looks like he's rocking out, perhaps. I do like the coloring on it. Like the paint that they choose and the vibrancy of this color look really... All the features on Poochie, not Poopy, on Poochie do actually pop. Changing out the heads, go ahead and just remove the head from the socket. And again, if you're having any tough time to do this, just easily heat the head in hot water. Again, I got a little scratch right there too. I did notice that obviously before as well. I don't know if it's just from me putting on the plastic wearing on top, like plastic against plastic wearing results maybe in the paint actually scraping. I don't really know. But it's a bit of a bummer to find that there's scratches all over this figure for the what little time I've actually had this guy out of the packaging. Popping head in completely. Now, obviously, it's going to have some limitation when it comes to the articulation because his ears are going to get in the way. It's going to kind of prevent his head from actually being able to rock back and forth. But this of the three head sculpt is my favorite head sculpt. I really like the look of this one. Still strange that we get ourselves Poochie, but I'm not going to talk too much more. I'm not going to dwell too much more about that because I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse. Instead, what we'll actually do is we'll have a look at the rest of Poochie's body. Now, he does have a fanny pack. I'm just going to move his arms out of the way to do this. His fanny pack, I noticed, is loose. Now, it sits right here. It doesn't sit down here. So first of all, it's not going to limit the articulation on the figure at all. But I wonder why they had to make it in a way that it would be removable on the figure. Because all the time I keep moving this figure around, and it's probably going to happen a couple more times too. I have to now keep going back and shimmying up the fanny pack, making sure it stays in place. I might just call it quits and just put a little bit of dab of glue, some glue somewhere here, and maybe just kind of permanently keep it in place. I mean, for where it sits again on the figure, why wouldn't they have just permanently glued it there instead of having this be something that's loose? The fanny pack, though, a bit of a bother. You can see it does have some nice detailing. You got the little zipper there on the side. You got a little belt snap there on the front. Does anybody still wear fanny packs? Is it acceptable, society-wise, to wear a fanny pack? You can let me know down below in the comment section. In addition to that, he's got some nice zippers that are painted there on the sides of his jacket. The zipper there on the front of the jacket. I feel like the jacket is a little too gray. I feel like it would be a little bit darker in the cartoon, but still, other than that, it's a pretty nice looking jacket. And he's got the ripped up shorts or ripped up pants down below with very bright looking sneakers. I will say this, like the problems I've had before with the Itchy, Poochie immediately getting him out of the box, his legs were loose. I don't know why they were loose. It's not like I could really open the door and ask a neighbor across the street, hey, any ideas why my Poochie is loose? He probably would have no idea. He probably would think my dog got loose. I don't actually own a dog. But the actual figure legs are very insanely loose. Loose in the knees, loose in the ankles, and more importantly, loose at the tops of the legs where they attach to the thighs or attach to the lower half of the figure's body. I don't know why. It's not like they're using this mold again. Why is there already such an issue with loose legs? Anyways, for the articulation on Poochie, his head is going to be on a ball joint. So not only does it rotate back and forth, down and up, obviously his ears are going to be getting in the way of things, but he also does have a secondary ball joint at the base of the neck. I like that they actually did put that in there. The arms do come out, not as loose, mind you, as the legs. 90 degrees would be safe to say on this figure. You can also take the arms and rotate them all the way around. Figure has a single hinge in the elbow, which again is loose. Why? So quickly, after having this guy out of the packaging, his elbows are loose. Arms rotate back and forth. The hands also rotate all the way around and hinging back and forth. Figure has an upper torso ball joint, sort of as also serving as a waist swivel. Legs do have ball joints. I don't know if you guys can actually see that or not, but there's ball joints on the insides of those legs. The legs move forward. The legs move back. There's a swivel, or a swivel here at the top of the thigh, but there's also a swivel lower down by the knee. The knee does have a single hinge. The feet do have articulation points there as well, so you can rotate those back and forth, up and down, and a bit of an ankle pivot. And the figure does also have tail articulation. He's got a ball joint actually in his tail. So the figure does have articulation where it counts, but the problem with it is, like the Itchy we looked at before, Poochie is very loose in the legs, and it shouldn't be the case for a figure that you immediately get out of box. And again, one last look here. We can bring in, speaking of loose legs, here's what he looks like with the robot Itchy. Now, I did actually hear from a couple of you viewers who had picked up Itchy for themselves, or even Scratchy for that matter. Let's bring Scratchy back in here. And said actually that they had no issues whatsoever with the knees or the ankles. I must have just been lucky. And again, like, the scraping on the plastic still seems to be a problem. And so easily it scratches as well. I don't know if you can actually still see that he's got the scratch on the end of Itchy's nose. Poochie has a little bit of that, at least on the defaulted head. Defaulted head would be this one right here. Where's the scratch? Yeah, scratch right there. And I've also got some visible scratchage, that's not even a word, on the top of his neck. That might, again, just be the plastic wearing against the plastic. But that shouldn't be the case, especially for a figure that's well over $50. In hindsight, it probably wasn't a good idea to have Poochie on top of a rolling-wheeled skateboard as the figure spins around here in final looks. This will at least do the job nicely until eventually he has to return back to his home planet, dying along the way, and then his animation cell just slides off the screen. Even though I didn't like Poochie actually being in that episode, just him leaving the way that he does did have me chuckling when I was younger, and it had me chuckling again when I rewatched the episode. Still, though, I don't understand why Poochie has to make the first appearance wave. Now, you guys have all weighed in your opinions, your comments down below in these comments of these Simpsons figures we've had a look at, and thank you for doing that, by the way. I like to be able to engage conversation back and forth with you, the viewing audience. And some of you actually have welcomed the cast of characters that Super7 have chose for the first wave. Some of you actually like the idea that there was Space Homer rather than just a casually dressed Homer, because we have gotten casually dressed Simpsons figures before. But I have to throw this out there. I mean, obviously this wave, from what I can see, is going to be surviving at least 4 or 5 waves so far. That's whether to say Super7 actually does release these figures or not. If it happens to be canceled after that, let's just look at the first 4 or 5 waves that we already know we are going to be getting those specific characters for. Ask yourself this: if they happen to cancel the wave after that, after the ones that we've already seen appearances for, was it worth it not to get a Simpsons family member dressed just casually? A Homer, a Bart, a Marge, a Lisa, or even a Maggie? Would it not have made sense to include characters like that just to ensure that at least you've got those locked in, and then you can always fill in the rest of the waves with the more obscure characters, like even a Poochie? But strange that we did get ourselves Deep Space Homer, a Mo again being the most normal of all of them, a Robot Itchy, a Robot Scratchy, and a Poochie. Seems again puzzling to me why Super7 made those specific choices. I would really love the chance to actually talk to Super7 about why they decided to choose the characters that they did. I like the look of Poochie, but I don't think Poochie really should have made the first wave. Maybe he should have made Wave 7, Wave 8, Wave 15 perhaps, but certainly not Wave 1. What do you guys think? Was that poor choice, poor decision choice on Super7's part to include characters like this for a first wave? Could it make more sense that maybe we've gotten more recognizable characters right away? Let me know your thoughts on what you think of the Wave 1 from Super7 Simpsons Ultimate Figures. Let me know down below in the comment section. Certainly as well, if you enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and certainly do want to stick around for more, well, we have wrapped up things right now for Simpsons, sad to say. There may be more Super7 reviews coming your way. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.